everyone to the house of the Lost Sheep of Israel. I'm Elder Michael Johnson, and I came on a little bit early, just a tad early, to address actually this week, and just to give you a little information, just a snippet of information, because we have people that's still over on the King James Bible University side. And we had a couple of people who actually call themselves speaking about what Deacon Q did to Deacon Sakari. So I want to clearly let you guys know. Why I came on early. Because one, I'm going to cut this part and I'm going to put it over there to where people will know why Deacon Q was even doing what he was doing. Because one day, as I told people, if you don't know the history, don't comment. If you don't know the history, what was going on between Deacon Q and Sakari, you shouldn't comment. You shouldn't comment on something you don't know the facts on. It's the same thing as people make comments, in the same thing with George Floyd. People were sitting there talking about George Floyd and he was this and he was that, but not knowing the history on what those cops are. See, it has nothing to do with George Floyd. It has the history of the cops and what was in their heart. So I want to make sure this is clear. One, Deacon Q, he was talking to me a day before and even that day. And you had 3 of these little idiot camp guys from Sakari texting this man, just relentless texting him, nonstop, trying to get him to come on their platform. Once we posted this, we're going to do here, trying to get him to come on. So, same thing, like I said, he's a grown man. So, I gave him some advice. I told him I wouldn't even worry about dealing with those people, this and that, and move forward. However, they continued to text him. And this man, when he was asleep, they continued to beat up his phone. 3 men from that Sakari continued to text him to where this man could not rest, to try to get him to come on the platform to where that deacon dude gonna school him, who's an idiot. So he took it upon to where he got sick of it from them texting him relentlessly for about a day. And he went on their platform, on their terms. It just didn't turn out the way they wanted it to, because when I offered it to them, they could have came on, we were going to give them the floor, and they could have did whatever they wanted to do and say whatever they wanted to say. But then they didn't want to speak to me. They wanted to speak to Deacon Micah or Deacon Q. That's what they asked for. So Deacon Q went over there and dismantled that group. Now they won't text him. But it goes to show, and why I'm still saying that and why I'm on this, is because what some people put in there, and some people were putting in there talking about it was a sad affair, not knowing the history. See, we got to keep going back to the history. So you shouldn't comment on that, even saying that's a sad affair, not knowing what they did to him. So when he came over there, and he had a little attitude, but he still dismantled on what he was doing, dismantling. It wasn't a sad affair. He went over there to take care of something, because they was refusing to let him rest. And then we had people, sitting there talking about he should have, talking about debates. We don't debate here. I don't know how many times we got to say that. How you going to debate something on precepts? That's stupidity. You sitting there, you're going to debate based on what God said. That's ignorance. So that's why we was checking that person, this ever learning. Same thing. We don't do that. And, other people were sitting there saying, but the thing is, once we did this, and I said, I'm going to come out with this teaching. I'm talking about roaches came out the woodworks, because we even had on the Facebook side. Again, we had this little kike, Gary Swartz. He decided he going to come at some people over there because of the image that was put up. Because he calls himself Jewish, but he thought he's going to teach somebody some knowledge. And he's nothing but a bona fide, kike, idiot, Jewish person that don't have no knowledge. None whatsoever. And once he got upset, and he see that same thing as he tried to threaten me, saying, do you want to talk in English or Hebrew? I told him, one is Yiddish, but I know it. But if you want to speak whatever one you want to speak, whatever one you comfortable with, I'm going to talk to you in that. Whatever one you comfortable with. So he didn't have no angles, but he thought he could scare me. But just like I said, I go into anybody's doctrine, and especially with theirs, and what's going to happen, what's going to happen. But just like he got upset, and once he couldn't refute anything, he proceeded to try to throw negative stuff at him. So that's why I'm responding to him as in that way. Because he's nothing but a Jewish idiot. And we look at this as people go through, and the same thing as I said with the camps. The camps sit there and they telling you about this Esau and Jacob. This is what they love to talk about. They stay on this quite a bit. And it has came to us that we just need to get some stuff straightened out. Excuse me. So we're going to show you the truth of Jacob and Esau. 1 second. So once you see this truth, we want to lock everything down to where there won't be no misunderstandings anywhere based on this here, because we have so many people throughout everywhere where you calling people out of their names, and you have this all mixed up because they looking at everything according to the flesh. And these many so-called Hebrew Israelites teach the lie in history about Esau and Jacob. They teach this a bona fide lie, a straight out lie. But the problem still becomes is you have many people sit over there and like to listen to the propaganda that they push, and then come over here and confuse. This is the problem we have. That's why I tell people all the time, our channel goes up and down. Find one. Because when you go over there and you get some lies, and then you come over here and try to push the lie, and then you even had these camps thought they had a little babe lion and grabbed hold to the wrong one. And that guy been teaching for more than 10 years. Deacon Q only been with me for about 1 year and 4 months. 1 year and 4 months. When he came into the truth. And this guy started sitting there telling you right up front, he don't care about this, don't care about that, because Deacon Q checked him. So they teach, these same ones teach, and other camps teach that a parent, and I had some pictures of them. I should have put them up. I'm sorry I don't have them here, but I can probably show them later. But they show these parents. You can actually Google this stuff and And you can see this stupidity that they show. They show you two black parents. We don't know if they married or not. It's just an image. Two black people with two babies. One baby is white, one baby is black. And they proceed to tell you that these children is from them. One white, straight, stringy hair, blue-eyed child. You have one that's a black child with the nappy, kinky hair and brown eyes. So if that's true, let's say that's true, then the white man who's pushing the white image of Jesus did the same thing. So if that's true what you're pushing, how is it that white Jesus is not true what they're pushing? Because they're showing you perceptions. And more so, you have camps push, and they pushing everything, because you see a lot of them push spaceships. They call them IFOs, identified flying objects. The crazy part is this. People sit there. People who call themselves Israel, but they really just Hebrews wanting to be something that they're not, and listen to it. Not only listen to it, they study it. Pushing nonsense. So exposing the perception being pushed. And the same is with the image of the pictures of the two black people with the white child. See, and this is rampant throughout these black Hebrew Israelite groups, giving Israelites around the world actually a bad name. This is the problem. We have a bad name because people don't even want to associate with it because of the ignorance that you see on the street corners. And the reason they have to show you pictures, to show you the perception, to make you believe the lie. Giving people around the world a bad name. Are they a hate group? 100%. Are black Hebrew Israelites a hate group? 100% yes. 100%. You can even see they even got them labeled as that. They are a hate group. They are no different. And I'm making myself completely clear here to where you can record it. You can put it on anybody else's platform. Those camp groups, those black Hebrew Israelites, is 100% hate groups. No different than the character of the KKKs. No difference. No difference at all. And they telling you a lie about Esau and Jacob. 100% yes. And they use that to push hate. And the problem here is you have these people raising their children, raising them up in hate. And they go fishing on street corners and they use the Bible as bait. And once you nibble on that bait and you get hooked, they can reel you in. And some of them, they'll try to reel you in to their buildings and feed you your own flesh. Why? Why I'm saying that way? They're going to feed you your own flesh. The same thing you believe in, the same thing you think about, the same thing that you really think about. And then the first thing they want to sit there and tell you that Esau and the lie they got with that of Jacob. This is the problem. Excuse me. So we got to look at some things. And if Esau's the white man, we got to look at some things, and we're going to go into this. We're going to go into this. We're going to make sure a lot of things is correct here. So we're going to park over here. We're going to go to Leviticus. We're going to pick this up at chapter 19, and we're going to start at verse 17. And some of this, I'm going to promise you right now, some people, if you first time over here, we welcome you. But I promise you, some of you guys are going to have to go back through this based on what you're going to see. Because some stuff I'm going to be going into the spiritual side of it, and you're going to see something different. It says, thou shalt not hate thy brother in thy heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor, and suffer not, and not suffer sin upon him. Problem 1. This is just letting you know something. That's all I was doing with this one, just to show you something. If Esau is the white man and Esau is the brother of Jacob, you cannot hate your brother in your heart. Which shows you a contradiction on what these fools are doing on the street. They're trying to tell you about a true story and don't have no understanding of the parable that is being told in the Bible. The parable starts with a name, to show you the ignorance of them. And this is what we're going to go through. To show you the parable on Esau and Jacob. What most people don't know. And the only reason that is being brought out here, because it just went rampant everywhere else. So to stop the madness, you can come and just see what the truth is of the parable. And when it has a name, a parable is where you're doing the comparing of the two. And you have to compare the names. And the differences, and what you're going to see, the first one is the child. The child was Esau. We'll see this in Genesis chapter 25 and verse 20. And we're going to find out some things that's really interesting that we're going to look at. And it says this. It says, Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel, the Syrian of Pandan Aram, the sister of Laban the Syrian. It's really interesting. Got a couple of interesting things going on here. Why do I say that? Because I'm going to show you something. Because the coincidence and something that they can't deal with, and most people don't really pay attention to. But I want you to pay attention to this certain thing here. This 40 years, or this 40. It has a lot to do with a lot of things. Because I'm going to show you some things. Over here in Genesis, chapter 7 and verse 17. It says this. It says, and the flood was 40 days upon the earth. The flood, and it's the end of that thought, really. The flood was upon the earth for 40 days. Isaac would just happen to be 40. But that's not the only part. But I want to show you something. We're gonna look at this. And in Genesis chapter 8, picking it up at verse 6, it says this. And it came to pass at the end of 40 days. Interesting again, isn't it? And Noah opened up the window of the ark that he had made, and he sent a raven forth and fro until the waters were dried up off the earth. Interesting, isn't it? Let's look at another piece. See, this is going to get really interesting real fast and real quick. Genesis chapter 50, verse 3. And 40 days were fulfilled for him. So are fulfilled in the days those which are embalmed, and the Egyptians mourned for him 70 days. Wow. And this is talking about Joseph commanded the servants to embalm his father Israel. That's what this one is talking about. That's what this is. But that's not all. We're going to look at something. We're going to look at something. We're going to see something. In Exodus chapter 24, picking up at verse 18, we're going to see something similar to the same thing. Moses went up into the midst of the cloud and got up on the into the mount, and Moses was in the mount 40 days and 14 nights. This is interesting, isn't it? It don't only stop there. It don't only stop there. We go down to Exodus chapter 34 and picking it up at verse 28. And we'll see again here. And there he was with the Spirit of God 40 days and 40 nights. Interesting, isn't it? He was fasting for that period of time. And you see this here again. We'll go over here to Deuteronomy. We're going to see something a little bit more. We're going to go over here to 9 and picking it up at verse 9. And when I was gone up into the mount to receive the tablets, who's Moses talking, even the tablets of the covenant, which the Spirit of God made with you, then I abode in the mount 40 days and 40 nights. He's verifying exactly what he did. But it don't end here. It don't end here. We're going over here to 1 Kings, and we're going to pick it up at 19 and verse 8. And it says this. And it says this. It's talking about Elijah. And he's just saying, and Elijah arose, and he ate and drank and went into the strength of the meat 40 days and 40 nights in Horeb in the mount of God. This is really interesting. Really interesting. Because as we keep going through here, I want to pound something into you because I want you to really get something as we continue to move forward. In Matthew chapter 4, we'll see Yahushua, he went through that. Chapter 4 and verse 2. It says, and he fasted 40 days and 40 nights. Interesting, isn't it? These things is really, really, really interesting. Really interesting. But he's not done here. He's not done here. Let's go back and we're going to look at some Old Testament. And we're going to see something. And still some other ones. There's still other ones there. We're going to Numbers chapter 13. Pick it up at verse 25. This is talking about the spies that went and looked into the land. They will return from searching the land after 40 days. Isaac was 40 years old, and this 40 keep popping up. But we'll get some gematria people, and they'll start saying, oh, see this number thing. No. You need to understand what 40 is. You need to understand what 40 is. And if you don't understand what 40 is, you're going to have a pretty bad problem on trying to figure out what that is. In Jonah chapter 3, we all know this. In chapter 3, picking it up at verse 4, it says, and Jonah began to enter into the city, the journey, and he cried and said, yet 40 days, and Nineveh shall be overthrown. 40 days. 40 days. I'm talking about we running into this 40 days like it's just rampant throughout the Bible. In Acts chapter 1, picking it up at verse 3, it says, to whom also showed himself alive after his passion by many infallible proofs, being seen of them 40 days, and speaking the things pertaining to the kingdom of God. Who? Salvation, Christ. It's interesting, isn't it? How we still on this 40 days, and it's this keep popping up, and we're going in different places in the Bible, and this 40, out of all the numbers in the world, this 40 keep popping up. And for some reason, we just not pinpointing what's going on. Ezekiel chapter 4, picking up at verse 5, it says this. It says, for they had laid up the years of their iniquity, the acts of sin, according to the number of days, 340 and 390 days so shalt thou bear the iniquity of the house of Israel. But he says more there. He gets more. Watch what happens. Watch what happens. It says, and when thou hast accomplished them, lie again on the right side, and thou shalt bear the acts of sin of the house of Judah 40 days. 40 days. And I have appointed thee each day for a year. So each day over here, he appointed for a year. But you have many people going to take, no matter where they see the 40 days or something, they're going to always switch it over, and they're going to put it, and they're going to say those are years, and that's not true. He clarifies that when he does that. For that reason, thou shalt set thy face towards the siege of Jerusalem, and thy arm shall be uncovered, and thou shalt prophesy against it. Yeah, actually, that's what we're getting ready to get into. But I want you to understand one thing. What's happening right here, right now. We're going to look at Exodus chapter 16 and verse 35. And the children of Israel did eat manna 40 years till they came into a land inhabited, and did eat manna until they came into the borders of the land of Canaan. Are you seeing this? Are you seeing this? I can run many more through here. Many more through here. I'm going to show you one other one, even though I can show you a few other ones, but I'm going to show you one. I want to show you one other one. I want to show you one other one before we. I want to show you this one here. I want to show you one more. One more. We're going to go to 29. We're going to look at verse 13. It says this, coming from the Spirit of our God. He said, at the end of 40 years, I will gather the Egyptians from the people, whether they were scattered. Interesting, isn't it? See, because what I want you to understand is this, because we're getting ready to go into some kind of deep, really, really, really water on what's getting ready to happen here. And you see here where he took Rebecca, the daughter of Bethuel, the Syrian. Another parable within itself. Particularly, Syrian don't mean what people tell you it mean. It mean a language, tongue, a Pandanaram. So the key was Rebecca a Hebrew? See, this is where people are going to trip. Because you see it's telling you clearly what it is right here. But you're going to get mixed up because Pandan Aram ain't telling you nothing but about a cultivated field on what it's getting into. This is why we have the problem we have when we look at parables in the Bible and they read it to you literal. Let's look at something. I want to show you something here in verse 21. In verse 21, it says this. It says, and Isaac entreated the Spirit of God for his wife because she was barren, and the Spirit of God was entreated of him, and Rebekah, his wife, conceived. Now, we know something that happened. Now, it just told you she was of the Syrians, telling you right up above, and she came from Pandan Aram, a cultivated field. So this is all the groundwork that you really need. But the problem here is most people don't get the idiom. They don't get it. They get lost. Why? Because they don't see what's going on here. But I'm gonna show you something to where we're gonna start putting some puzzle pieces together to get some understanding. We're gonna start putting some of this together to get some pieces to understand it. We're gonna look at Hosea chapter 1. And we're gonna say, in the word of the Spirit of God came into Hosea, the son of Beri, the son of Uriah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, king of Judah, in the days of Jeroboam, the son of Joshua, king of Israel. But here's the key. The beginning of the word of the Spirit of God by Hosea. The Spirit of God said to Hosea, go take unto thee a wife of whoredom. Where they screw up at. Because they think she was a whore, just whoring herself around, sleeping with men. That's not the truth. This is the dumb doctrines that is taught to you. Because he clarifies what he's saying. He clarifies exactly what he's saying. Watch what he says here. For, he said, whoredom, and the children of whoredom, for the land have committed great whoredom, departing from the Spirit of God. They start worshiping all kinds of stuff. That's all he's saying. He ain't saying that she was a whore. Talking about the land is whore. Like it's like here. And it says, so he went and took Gomer, the daughter of who? Diblaim. Interesting, is it? Interesting, isn't it? See, because one, we need to know what that's talking about. We need to know what that's saying. And seeing that we got Rebecca is from Pandan Aram. But Diblaim mean 2 fig cakes. Just to give you a little hint. It means 2 fig cakes on what we need to get. But she was barren. So the Spirit of God heard him and she conceived. Who we talking about? Sarah. Because it's going to tell you some things on what we're going to blend in and show you how everything works. And it says, and the children struggled together when she conceived within her. And she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of the Spirit of God. This is where everybody started getting lost. These 2 children was inside her womb, struggling. It's telling you that, struggling. And struggling just means wrestling within her. And she didn't know why. She didn't know why. But I want to show you something. Make sure, please make sure you don't write. You write these down, because I want you to go back and check this. I want you to go back and look at this. I want you to go back and look at this for certain reasons, because in Ephesians chapter 6, picking up at verse 12, it says this. So as they was doing this, and it's telling you the same thing, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers in darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. We're in this world, but we in the womb of this world, and we not of it. You follow me? We in the womb of this world, but we just not of this world. And these children are struggling together because one is of the world. Show you a mystery of God. I'm going to show you a mystery of God to make sure we get this. We're going to look at Romans. We're going to go over here to chapter 16. And we're going to pick it up at verse 25. I want to show you something here. I want to show you a mystery here to where we're going to sit there and see it. And it said this here. It says, now to him that is of power to establish you according to my gospel. So he's telling you he wants to establish you according to his message, in preaching of salvation, the anointed one. He's telling you Jesus Christ, salvation, anointed one, Yahushua, according to the revelation of the mystery. Because this is just like I said, this over here, you're going to see the mystery because I'm going to lay it out for you. No problem. We're going to lay this completely out for you. Which was to keep secret since the world began. What? This over here, Esau and Jacob. But we're gonna see the mystery. Some people gonna get it and some people not. Camps is over here. Believe me, they're here. Believe me, they're here. And I promise you, 90% of the campers that are here is not going to get this. I promise you that. And it says, but now is made manifest, being made known, and by the scriptures of the prophets. That's how it's being made known to you. That's why it's saying it this way. According to the commandment of the everlasting God, made known all nations for the obedience of faith. This is how you're getting it. Because it's telling you right up front why you getting it and where you getting it from. Galatians chapter, let's go over here to Galatians. We're going to look at Galatians chapter 5, picking it up at verse 17. And it tells you right here, it says, for the flesh lusts against the spirit, and the spirit against the flesh. These are contrary to one another, so that ye cannot do the things that ye would. This is why they were struggling. Understand where he's coming from. Because I want to put all these tools, I want to get you with all these tools together to where you can perfectly put them together. And the reason we have to do it this way, I want to make sure it ain't nowhere you can wiggle from. Once we get deep into this, I'm gonna make sure you can't wiggle out of this. And we'd have to do it that way because we have people who will sit there and try to do it another way. In John chapter 3, it says this. It makes this clear. In verse 3, we're gonna pick it up. It says, verily, verily I say unto thee, except a man be born again, he cannot see the kingdom of God. Keep that in mind. As I said, we're in the womb of this world right now, but we have to be born again. If not, we cannot see the kingdom of God. Nicodemus said unto him, how can a man be born that when he is old? This is the carnal side of understanding. Can he enter the second time into his mother's womb and be born? You see what's happening here. So make sure, I'm trying to go slow enough. I'm trying to take my time on this to make sure you can write this down. And I want you to make sure you go back and check me. in 2nd Esdras chapter 6, picking it up at verse 18, says this. Beautiful the way this goes out. Beautiful the way this goes out. He's speaking to Esdras. He said, remember, the day has come that I will begin to withdraw nigh and visit them that dwell upon the earth. Clear. We should be clear here. So he's going to draw nigh. He's going to speak to those who are going to be born another way. You following it? So watch this. And begin to make inquisitions of them that what they be that have hurt unjustly with their unrighteousness, and when the afflictions of Zion shall be. You got a little more. And it said will be fulfilled. And when the world that shall begin to vanish away, understand what he's saying? They got a world going to vanish away, shall be finished. Then I will show these tokens. Understand what he's saying? The book shall be open before the firmament, before the separation, and they shall see all together. But let's see something. Let's see something. Verse 21 going to clear up some stuff for us. It says, the children for a year old shall speak. It's key. This is key. Shall speak in their voices, and the women and their children should bring forth untimely children of 3 or 4 months old, and they shall live and be raised up. Why is it saying that? See, he's telling you in a parable way. See, because people will tell you, as most people will tell you, saying, well, I'm going to tell you what, it takes you 9 months for a woman to have a baby. That's not the truth. That's not the truth. I'm going to actually show it to you. I'm going to show it to you. Let's go over here to Wisdom of Solomon. Let's go over here to Wisdom of Solomon. Pick it up. We're going to pick it up at chapter 7. We're going to look at verse 2. It says, in my mother's womb was fashioned to be flesh in the time of 10 months. This is coming from the wisest man that ever set foot on this earth. And that wisdom was given from God. So am I going to believe man, or I'm going to believe the Bible? Am I going to believe man, or I'm going to believe the Bible? "10 months being compacted in blood, and the seed of man, and the pleasure that came with it." So 1 month they cannot see, because they'll tell you, they'll start counting at 9 months. I'm telling you right here. Right here. So we had this 10 months, and we want to understand what's happening here. So we need to pick up something. It says this here. The Spirit of God said unto her, 2 nations. This is again where a lot of us get mixed up. 2 nations, 2 origins. Just keep that in mind. Keep 2 origins are in thy womb. Just keep that in mind. We're gonna flip them to what is actually saying in real Paleo Hebrew, and not what they're telling you about modern doctrine and all that stupidness. Keep that in mind. 2 origins. Just keep that in mind. When it's saying 2 nations, let's flip it to what it actually means. 2 origins are in thy womb. 2 manner of people. That's the problem. We're gonna find out what all that means. 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. What do this from thy bowels mean? I have to show you what these mean to where you can really get clarity on what's happening here. So bowels actually mean, we write it down, mean compassionate feelings or tender mercies. That's what that actually means. That's what that actually is telling you. It's going to be separating about your compassionate feeling. Why? Actually, we want to tell you what. Let's go up here a little bit and we're going to come back. This is why this has even happened. And Isaac loved Esau, but because he did eat of the venison, but Rebekah loved Isaac, loved Jacob. This is showing you something. The elder, as it's telling you, and the people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. So I want you to keep this in mind. I want you to keep this in mind. And it says, and when her days was delivered, when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, remember, there were twins in her womb. So it's telling you, behold, remember those twins in her womb. So he's telling you the story. He wants you to keep this in mind. Don't get this tripped up. Keep this in mind, because he's going to start breaking it down, and we're going to tear it down. We're going to tear down the parable to where you can completely understand what's happening here. So now it goes on here in verse 24. Verse 24, we just read that. So verse 25, it says, the first came out red all over like in what? Like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. Okay, so now we got two things it's telling you here on where people miss and they don't understand what's going on. Remember, this is a parable that's being told to you as he's telling you about the birth of these two children. That's the catch. That's why he tells you this. That's what the parables are. They are these things to tell you about these things to help you to get you to understand this. So he's saying the first one came out red. And it was, and as we go back over here, in like a hairy garment. So what is it saying? We need to know what red means. They want to tell you about images, but we want to know what it actually means. And it means he was the image of sin. He came out red. The image of sin. That's what that's telling you. In the garment, it was his covering. Meaning he was covered in sin. It's all he's telling you. Like a hairy garment. Let's look at something. Let's look at something to help us out. We're going to go somewhere to help us out. We're going to go to Zechariah. Pick it up at verse chapter 13. Chapter 13, picking it up at verse 4. And it's telling you this right here. It says, it should come to pass in the day that the prophet shall be ashamed every one of his vision, and when he is prophesied, neither shall they wear a rough garment to deceive. That's what it's talking about over to Esau as you read down in there. Saying the same thing, because he's telling hairy garment, so he's covered in sin. He's covered in sin. And that's what it's saying. But we're going to see more of this as we go deeper into this. The deeper we go into it, the more we're going to pull. The more we pull, the more we're going to get into it. So we're going to look at something else. We're going to go into Genesis chapter 27. We're going to pick it up at verse 11. And picking it up at verse 11. And it says this. And it says this. This is clear. And it says, and Jacob said to Rebekah his mother, remember, Esau, my brother, is a hairy man. Is a hairy man, and I am a smooth man. I'm a smooth guy. But Rebekah said something. She said something. And we're going to see that. It says this here. It says, my father peradventure will fill me, and I shall see and shall seem to him as a deceiver. I'm going to come off to him as a deceiver. I do what you're saying, Mom. I'm going to do this. I'm telling you, Mom, I'm going to come off like a deceiver. This is how I'm going to come off. So he's telling her straight up. And I shall bring a curse upon me and not a blessing. You see how he's tying this down? But watch what the mama say. See, that's why I say you need to know what that Syrian really telling you about. Okay, so she said this, and she said, His mother said unto him, upon me be thy curse, my son. Only obey my voice and go fetch me them. Go get me one of them things. Go get me one. So we need to follow something. We need to follow something now. We're going to go back. We're going to go back and look at something and see what was happening. We need to clearly get now what these two boys are and what they are about. So let's look at this. Let's go to Genesis back to 25, and we're going to pick this up. We're going to pick this up now, and we're going to look at some things that's really particular here. And you see, even when they was born, it tells you here, and after that he came his brother out of the hand, he took hold of Esau's heel, and he was called Jacob. He was called Jacob. So then later you see his name changed as well as Esau's name was changed. We're going to see this here. We're going to see this here. We're going to see how these name changes and how functions work in names. Because names is the most important thing you ever will see in the Bible itself. And most people don't know that. Because you need to know the function of the name once you know it. So this is the thing. Let's look at verse 29. It says this. It says this. It says, and Jacob sawed pottage, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint. That told you everything. Sawed. So what was that saying? This is the problem. They saying he was broiling some lentils and stuff. And that's not the truth. Technically, people, I don't want to normally say anything, but that is not the truth at all. On when you saying salt. That means what he was doing, he was roasting. He was burning those. He was making an offering, actually, what he was doing. And we're going to get into it to where we're going to see what's happening. We're going to see exactly what I'm talking about. Let's look at something. Let's look at something. To show you why a lot of stuff we don't do in the front. Because you have so many campers will screw everything up and they'll flip it all up all kind of ways. So that's why a lot of stuff just choose not to do it in the front. But this here we just got to kill. So in 2 Chronicles chapter 35, picking it up at verse 13, we're going to see this. We're going to see this here. We're going to start getting the understanding. It said they roasted the Passover with fire according to the ordinance, but the other holy offering sawed. Same word, ain't it? Same word, ain't it? But watch this. And you know they doing the Passover. They doing a offering. They holy offerings. See, the offerings is sawed. You got to remember the offering is sawed. So if it's sawed, it's an offering. And it's saying they pots in cladrons. Why? In their pans, and divided them speedily among the people. Why? Why am I saying this? And afterwards they made ready themselves for the priests, because the priests and sons of Aaron were bruised in the offering, in the burnt offerings, in the fat until the night. Therefore the Levites prepared for themselves, and the priests and the sons of Aaron. Interesting, is it? See, if it was boiled, it would have said boiled. But they use words that people just don't get. This is the problem that we have. See, when you want to see something, I'm going to show you this here, but we're going to look at it. We're going to go with 1 Kings. We're going to look at 1 Kings. And the reason I'm going to 1 Kings, I want to show you something. I want to show you something to where we can look at this, to where we can be clear on this. In 1 Kings chapter 19, picking it up at verse 21, it says this. It says, says this here. It says, and he returned back from him and took the yoke of oxen and slew him and broiled. You see that? Broiled? Actually, let me highlight. Let me just highlight this. See, broiled? It's not sod. Sod and broiled are talking about two different things. Now we understand the point. Now we get in the point on what's happening here. That's why I say it's so important to understand what you're reading, to understand these words, because every time people are going to run you to these blue letter Bibles and show you all these Yiddish translations, it's going to run you into the lie. They're going to do it like clockwork. Like clockwork. They're telling you they speak Paleo Hebrew. That's a written language, not a spoken language. They're telling you about these words that they would have known. And now as we're going down into this, we're going to see what's going on. So we're going to see why these names changed and why these things happen. Because Esau mean hairy, but he was still red. He was covered in sin. And this is how we find out what's going on. And that's why I wanted to show you that before we even went into it. And let's look at this. It says, and Esau said to Jacob, feed me, I pray thee, with the same red pottage, for I am faint. For that reason, his name was called Edom. For that reason. Why? Because as what Jacob was doing was sitting there, was making a burnt offering to God, is what he was technically even doing. Where you see that sod was happening, Esau said, feed me that same red pottage, which is two things he did. He spoke contrary against God. Why? He says, feed me that same red pottage. So he's saying red pottage, what he's talking about, unrighteous pottage is what he was saying. See, when people just say red pottage, I kick back and be cool. But when he's saying that same red pottage, he's telling you this offering you making is unrighteous, is what this man was telling him. See, feed me that same unrighteous pottage, man. Speaking evil of the Most High God. And it says, for that reason, that's why it says, for that reason, let me highlight this. That's why I'm saying it's really important to understand words, but that's beside the point. It says, for that reason, when he spoke evil of the Lord, when he spoke evil, he said, for that reason was his name called Edom. We need to know what Edom means. Because people want to sit there and call people Edomites. They want to call people everything contrary to what it is. He was called for that reason Edom, because he sat there and talked about the offering to the Lord was unrighteous. But we ain't done. We getting ready to dig into this now. We in the party now. we got to finish the party out now. See, because for that reason he was called Edom. What do Edom mean? What do it mean? It mean ruddy, mean arrogant, hard-headed, and stubborn. Ruddy, Edom. It's not a people. Get that off of a people. Get that off of a group of people. Get that off from people who sitting there saying, oh, that's an Edomite. No, this is what it's telling you. But now we're going to validate what we just did. We got to validate it. Let's look at something. Because now we're going to find out for that reason he was called that. So we're going to look at something. Just like I said, we're going to do surgery today. We in the surgery room today. We're going to go to Matthew chapter 16, picking it up at verse 26. And we're going to see something. And it says, for what, let me change the color of that. For what is a man profited? I just want you to think about something. What shall a man profit if he should gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? Esau said, give me some of that unrighteous pottage so I can eat. So you said for that reason you was called Edom. For that reason alone. We ain't done yet. We ain't done yet. Watch this. We gotta go more into this. Verse 31. Verse 31. Jacob said, sell me this day thy birthright. Okay. You want this? You want this offering? Give me your birthright. You want this, Esau? Give me your birthright, bro. Give it up. Give it up. Give it up. What will a man do in exchange for his own soul? What would he do? Jacob saying, hey, give up your birthright. Give up your birthright. And actually, I want you to keep something. I want you to keep this. I want you to keep this in mind. Just keep this in mind. We're going to look at Hebrews. We're going to go to chapter 9. Why? Because I want you to keep this. This is bullet. Just keep it in your back pocket. Bullet, just keep it in your back pocket. In 9:27, it says this. And as it is appointed unto men once to die, but after this, the judgment. Keep that. Keep that as why? Because what profit is that birthright? Jacob sitting there telling you, hey, I'm going to buy it. Esau sitting there saying, dude, give me some of that unrighteous pottage. Give it to me. Because Cain, I'm going to get into Cain in a minute. We'll go to Cain. But the same thing with Esau. The same with Esau is appointed to die once. And so he had no faith in anything. Meaning this. Let's look at something. James chapter 2. We're going to pick up James chapter 2. We're gonna mosey over to verse 14. We're going to mosey over on verse 14. It says, what doeth it profit, my brother, through a man say he have faith and have no works? Can faith save him? Can faith save you? It's interesting, isn't it? The same thing that goes on when we see these examples. Can faith do something? I'm gonna show you faith being. Actually, let's go here, because this is why Esau was profane. I'm gonna show you why he was profane, because now y'all see why he wasn't forgiven. Because he said, you blaspheme the Holy Ghost, that ain't forgiven in this world or the world to come. See, that's why he even says these things. And watch this. We're going to see this. Same thing. It says, now the sons of Reuben, the firstborn of Israel. For he was the firstborn. He was the firstborn for as much as he defiled his father's bed, his birthright was given unto the sons of Joseph, the son of Israel. Taken. Based on faith, he's sitting there, I'm going to go up in my father's bed and have sex with one of his concubines, who my father goes into. And it says, and for Judah prevailed above his brethren, and of him came the chief ruler, but the birthright is whose? It's Joseph. The birthright belonged to Joseph. Look at the camps and the fools all over the place, even here all over rampant. We're Judah. The birthright is Joseph. Why? I'm going to show you something what Joseph did when he went into hell. Show you something what Joseph did. Let's go here. Let's look at something. I want to show you something. Make sure we're clear on this. In 39, we're going to go to Genesis 39. We're going to pick it up at verse 7. And we're going to look at this clearly. And it said, and it came to pass after these things that his master's wife, this is talking about Pharaoh's wife, where Joseph was, cast her eyes upon Joseph. She looked at Joseph. I want me some of that Joseph. See, that's what she's doing. I want me some of that Joseph. My husband gone. I want me some Joseph. She said, "What? Lie with me? Come on. Hey, come here, boy. Come here, boy. Come here, you big chocolate sun kiss. I got something for you." See, that's what's going on right there, right here. That's where that's going on. Joseph was subservient to Pharaoh, but Joseph gonna make something clear to her. Same thing here. You gonna see? He said, but he refused and said to his master's wife, and now he gonna check her. "Remember, my master would not what is with me in this house." Now he gonna check her. He has committed all that he have in my hand. Everything that he has is in my hand. Joseph checking Pharaoh's wife, who's in sin. And he says, "Neither is none greater in this house than I." She's in there. He's letting her know there ain't nobody greater in this house than me. You in here, you ain't greater than me. I'm greater than you. Only time I gotta be subservient is when he gets in here. "Neither have he kept back anything from me but thee, because thou art his wife." But watch how he clarifies this. "How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God?" You can't tell me that boy don't have no faith. He's been over there for years. How can I do this great sin against God? Now you see why that birthright went to him. But some, thinking nothing of a birthright, even offerings, and calling them unrighteous. See, and people want to know why things like that happen. That's why these things happen. In Hebrews chapter 12, that's why Esau had the problem he has. Let's look at it. We're going to see it. It says, tell you this. It says, "Lest there be any fornicator who, like Esau, or profane person." Now that's any one of us. As Esau. Comparing us with Esau. For one morsel of meat sold his birthright. You know how many of us do that? You know how many of us is out there doing that today? "For ye know how that afterwards he would have received would have inherited the blessings." He was rejected. Why? Give me some of that same red pottage you got there, homeboy. Wait a minute. You talking about this offering is sin, is unrighteous? Okay. You was rejected, boy. That's why he said, that's why you was rightfully called Edom. That's why you call that. This is why you call that. And see, and what you got to remember is Joseph was cast into the wilderness to be tempted. The same as, actually, it's better I show you why I'm talking to you. Better I show you why I'm talking. Because we're going to look at something. We're going to go to Matthew. We're going to look at verse 4. We're going to go to chapter 4. We're going to pick it up at verse 1. Why? Because I want to show you something. It says, "Then was Yahushua led up of the Spirit unto the wilderness to be tempted of the devil." The same as Joseph. He was in the wilderness. But guess what? He didn't fall. Joseph didn't fall. That's how Joseph got the blessing. That's how he got the blessing. He was led up and did those things. Let's look at something. Let's look at something. We got to look at something. We want to make sure we do this some justice here. We want to make sure we got this all right. Let's go to Acts, and we're going to pick it up at chapter 7. We're going to drop down to verse 9. And it says this, where it lets us know right up front. It says, and the patriarchs moved with envy. The patriarchs moved with envy, being like Edom, moved with envy, sold Joseph into bondage. Sold him into bondage. Their own brother. Their own brother. How can you sit there and arbor your brother like that? It says, but God was with him and delivered him out of all his afflictions and gave him favor and wisdom in the sight of Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. Check. If God's with you, who can be against you? And it says it made him governor over Egypt. Made him governor over Egypt. Meaning what? Joseph had the keys. Joseph had the keys. Actually, some of y'all don't get it. So let's clarify. Let's clarify some things. So he had the keys. Let's clarify that. Let's clarify that, because I know some people, I don't get that. Well, we're going to get it right now. So let's see this. Let's see this. We're going to go here. We're going to go to Revelation chapter 1, verse 18. And it says, I am he that liveth and was dead. And remember, I am alive forevermore. Amen. And have the keys to hell and death. The same as Joseph, in bondage, had the keys. He had the keys. He had the keys to hell and death, and he in hell running it. Running it. Are you feeling that? Actually, let's get a little bit better. Let's go a little bit deeper over here. Let's go a little bit better. Let's look at Revelations, and we're gonna do some spiritual things here. We're gonna get into some spiritual side here. Let's go over here to Revelation chapter 12, and we're gonna pick it up at verse 5, so we can get some understanding. The same as we all got to go through this wilderness. And it says, and she brought forth a man child, who you put your name there. She brought forth you, who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron, and her child was caught up unto God into his throne. But that ain't everybody. A lot of people call, a lot of people don't make it. A lot of people call, a lot of people don't make it. And it says this. See, because Esau, because back to Esau, was nothing but a man child who was to rule all nations, but he didn't get caught up to God. See, this caught up to God, to his throne, we can talk about a whole nother thing. Because this is what happens. Just look at verse 7. That means verse 6. It says this. And it says, and the woman fled into the wilderness. She fled into the wilderness. Where in the world do you think you are right now? Where do you think you are right now? You in the wilderness. You got people trying to get you from the wilderness to the wilderness. We gonna leave. We gonna go into the woods. No. You in the wilderness right now. And it says, where she had place prepared of God that they should feed her there 1,260 days. You better get that. See, people sitting there telling, well, I know Daniel. Okay, you better understand that. Because you can't click that with Daniel. You screw it up anyway. See, because one thing you better do is this. You better kill that flesh. It tells you this as Brother Paul, he lovingly tried to tell us He lovingly tries to tell us the main thing every time. He tries to always try to get us to understand something, and a lot of times we don't see it. It says, for if ye live after the flesh, ye shall die. Clear. Clear. If you're going to live after the flesh, I promise you, you're not just going to die here because it's already promised and guaranteed to die here. You're going to die in the world to come. But it says, but if through the Spirit do mortify the deeds of the body, the deeds of flesh, you're going to live. He's clear. He's clear as day. So we have to sit there in our flesh. We have to put that flesh to sleep. Burnt offering. Same as Yehoshua, same as Joseph. As one in the wilderness with Jacob and Esau. So what profit is the birthright? What profit is the birthright? That we in the wilderness. What profit is that? Let's let Brother Paul help us out some. We're going to let Brother Paul help us out some. Chapter 2, we're going to pick it up at verse 8. We got to hit verse 8 to where we can get some clarity. Because verse 8, it says this. It says, for by grace ye are saved through faith, and not that ye yourselves, it is the gift of God. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. See, we're saved from the death to come, but not as Esau, and because he did something different. So what profit is a birthright to you? Same thing was a birthright to me. Calling, offerings unrighteous to God. Remember this. Never forget this. Never forget this. 1 Corinthians. See, and the reason why we run all these precepts, I want to make sure you cannot get nowhere around anything. This is one of the main reasons I run extra precepts, to make sure we clear on everything. We're going to go to 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 51. And it says, behold, I show you a mystery. Again, he's going to show us a mystery. Why? He's going to show you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but shall be changed. We mortifying the deeds of the body. Mortifying the deeds of the body. But he tells you something. It says, in a moment, in a twinkling of an eye, the last trump, for the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be rise incorruptible, and we shall be changed. We're going to be changed. This was a mystery to Esau. Total mystery to Esau. And it goes on more, where it tells you a little bit more. When he gets into that, for that quick moment, you'll be corrupt. You'll be changing to corruptible. You'll be changing from the caterpillar to the butterfly in a moment's time. But it tells you a little bit more here. This is why people sit there and they do everything fleshly. And it says this. For the corruptible must put on. You have to have a covering. You must put on incorruption. You have to put that cover on. The corruptible must put on incorruption. You have to put it on like you got on a jacket. Are you following me? And it says, and this mortal must put on immortality. You got to put on Christ. Not sitting there telling you any kind of crazy thing, but this is the mystery. This is the mystery that goes on. But it goes on more here. So this is why Joseph even said these things. It says, so when the corruptible shall have put on incorruption, and this mortal shall have put on immortality, then shall be brought to pass the saying that is written, death is swallowed up in victory. is swallowed up in victory. And he clarifies it. He clarifies this. How do we know? Because you see it in James. In James chapter 2, picking up at verse 17, it says this. It says, when you have that faith, so even so faith, if it have no works, not works, meaning if you're not doing the works of God, and most people can't tell you what they are, is dead, being alone. When Joseph was there, he wasn't dead. He wasn't dead. So that's why we have those people with those problems. That's why we had those problems there. This is why that goes on. So this is why we see that what's happening here. But it tells you more. O death, where is thou sting? O grave, where's thy victory? Where's your victory? Where is it? See, we have calling coverings is the wrong thing. We do this stuff and we keep messing up. We keep screwing ourselves doing this. And this is why those parables are set there. In Proverbs chapter 26, picking it up at verse 26, and we're going to see what it says there. Get some more. Actually, start at verse 25. It says, when he speaketh fair, believe him not. For there are 7 abominations in his heart. 7. Covering yourself with wickedness. And you got 7 abominations in your heart. 7. And more so, it tells you even clearly, whose hatred is covered by deceit, his wickedness shall be shown before the whole congregation. He's hairy, covered in sin. And just to show you what those are, just to show you what those are. See, knowing that the law is not made for a righteous man, but for the lawless. Disobedient, ungodly, sinner, unholy, profane, Esau. Murders, Esau. Fathers of murders, Esau. Mother of manslayers, whoremongers, Esau. Perjured person, Esau. Whose rightfully name was changed to Edom. Whose rightfully name was changed. Are you following me? Following me. So that's why we had this problem here. That's why we had this problem here. And we keep trying to sit there and don't think we do, but we have a serious problem here. A serious problem. Actually, it went too far. This is the biggest problem we have. Verse 9, it says this. It says, not of works. So you can't do these works of flesh, lest any man boast. Because this, I promise you, we will do that. If we sit there and thinking we'll get in on ourselves, the first thing we will do is boast. How you getting in access to heaven? Verse 10, it says, for we are the workmanship created in the anointed one of salvation unto good works, which God hath before ordained that we should walk in them. You better put that on. You better put that on. And he's going to clarify some things here. See, he's going to clarify some things here because this is what our mind is set as. Our mind is set in this. Watch this. It's so clear, so clear. See, in verse 11, it says this so clear. It says, wherefore, remember that ye being in times past Gentiles in flesh, doing the works of an idiot. Who are called uncircumcision, which by that which is called the circumcision of flesh made by hands. Thinking you doing something. You thinking, let me show you. Let me show you here. Let me show you here. Let me show you something here. Go right back to 1 Corinthians. Gonna go to chapter 12. Picking it up at verse, right, already high. Know ye that ye were Gentiles? Gentiles in the mind. Carried away unto these dumb idols, even as you were led. Even as we was led. Are you seeing how this is working? We were sitting there being Gentiles in flesh, carried off to every dumb doctrine they can bring to us. I'll worship that. Oh yeah, I'll worship that too. Well, I'll worship that. Oh yeah, I'll worship that. Coexist. I will worship that. Are you following me? That's right. I will worship with you. Telling you right here in verse 12 in Ephesians. It says that in times ye were without Christ, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel. Are you serious? Commonwealth. So it's telling you commonwealth. You want to actually let's go back here and look at it to where you can see this commonwealth here. I just want to make sure people know what it means. So as we talk, you know what's in this contract. I want you to make sure you know what's in your contract. If anything else, I'm going to make sure you know what's in this contract. The commonwealth, telling you of your citizenship. So being aliens from the citizenship of Israel. That's what it just said, told you. That's what it just told you. It just told you this. Meaning what? Now, I'm going to clarify it. Because we Gentiles of the flesh. We Gentiles and sitting there, oh, we're going to do everything they do. Because why? We caught up in the mind so bad, we do everything Gentiles do is of the flesh. So we go right back to Romans, pick it up at chapter 9. We're going to drop right over here, verse 6. And it tells you, not as though the word of God has taken none effect, for they are not all Israel which are of Israel. That's clear enough? Is that clear enough? And strangers, do you see it right here? You see this here? And strangers from the covenants of promises, having no hope and without God in the world. Because the word of God has taken none effect. For what he say, you sitting there saying, no, unrighteous. So your name is rightfully called Edom. Meaning what? Drop down to verse 8. We'll clear it. That is, they which are the children of the flesh. Name a count. They're going to show you everything of the flesh. Everything. That's why you were sitting there telling you tell you let's debate on the Trinity or how to keep the law. Everything of the flesh. These are not the children of God, but the children of the promise is counted for the seed. It's telling you right there. So you're a stranger from Israel. You look like Israel, you talk like it, but you ain't Israel. You're not Israel, you're Edom. The parable. Teaching you things of the flesh and not of the spirit. Why? That's why they can't tell you anything. They had these teaching wars. They're talking about spaceships, raptures, all this stuff. We're gonna tell you this gonna come back here. They're gonna come back on this here. They're gonna do this here. Let me show you about this here. Let me go. We done school these people on the corner here. We done talk to this Edomite here. They did all this stuff and haven't done nothing on telling you what stuff is. Is why that deacon walked in that place and did surgery on their doctrine. Did surgery on them. And they couldn't figure out what he was about. And same as I told him, I wasn't angry with him. I was angry at the fools. Because they sat there, they know me. But you want to go after one of my younger guys. And deliver him up to y'all matriarch. See, in these promises is this. They tell you all these promises they like to run out. And we look at Romans chapter 8, picking it up this, and it tells you this all the time. And the Bible tells you this, but people still are so foolish because this is how we are. And it tells you in 8:24, it says, for we are saved by hope, but hope that is seen is not hope. They telling you all this stupid stuff, and we sit right there. That's right. Idiots. This is the silliness that angers a lot of us. Walking around with all these wise fleshly. Don't get nothing spiritual. God is a spirit, so he got to show you the contrasts so you can understand spiritual. This is the issue we have. You can see the whole, they look like a clown and you sit right there. That's right. That's right. Stupid. Idiots. The ones that teach it and the ones sit under it. The channel goes up and down. Find one. I don't have the time for stupidity. We trying to save the ones that is right. Ain't trying to save an idiot. Don't have time for him. Don't have the time for an idiot. Telling you about a spaceship that God is riding around on. This is the stupidness that we're going. Edom. Let's look at something. Hebrews. Let's look at Hebrews. Hebrews, we're going to go to chapter 11, picking it up at verse 1. And it says, now faith is a substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. They standing there on a street corner telling you about dumb doctrine, and you sit right there. That's right. Talking about they gonna be in the kingdom doing all this crazy stuff to people, and that in the new kingdom is a place of peace. Stupidity. Tell you this in verse 13 and over here in Ephesians. It says, but now the anointed one of salvation, ye who sometimes were afar off, are made nigh by the life of Christ. You got to change something, bro. You got to change something. Nigh. You got to be close to him. Do what? Through teachings. Through teachings, you can get close to him. These are the things you do. Through the teachings of it. Not sitting there, standing on corners, sitting on YouTube and sitting there and all y'all, this and, I'll tell you what, tell me when the temple is. When was that born? Stupidity. So many people are going to go to so far deep in hell without a chaser, thinking they got the truth, believing they got the truth. Where you get these fools telling you all this crap. Got you sitting in churches, got donation buttons and off everywhere. Edom, you rightfully called Edom, but you want to put it on a white man. It is you. It's you. Let's tells you this right here. It says, for he is our peace, who have made both one, have broken down the middle wall of partition between us. And now you think you're going to go into a kingdom and you're going to treat people the same way we are treated on this world right now. Are you an idiot? Do you know the dumb doctrines people teach on this? And then we sit there and want reparations on something that we did. We want to be paid for our sinfulness. Are you kidding me? Let's look at verse 15. Let's go down through here. And it says this. It says, having abolished in his flesh the enmity. You got to mortify this bad boy. You got to get rid of this works of the flesh. Hope that it's seen. They showing you, look at this. You can go get a suit like this, so we can look like a clown like us. Abolish that stuff of the flesh, which is enmity. Even the law of the commandments contained in the ordinances. Same thing. I just showed it to you in Timothy. And to make in himself for the twain one new man, so making peace. So making peace. Because you got to hold on to the promise of God. Meaning this. Let me show you this. Let me show you this. Let me show you this. To make sure we get this. Deuteronomy chapter 10. I'm going to go to 10 verse 12. And it says this. And now Israel. I got to say it 3 times because why? We stiff necked. It says, what do the Spirit of thy God require of thee? What in the world do he require of you? Oh, when the temple going to be built? Stupid. Hey, Captain Isaiah, soldier this. What do the Spirit of your God require of you? But to desire the Spirit of thy God and to walk in his ways and love him and promise him and serve the Spirit of thy God with all thy heart and all thy soul. Bingo. Bingo. But he got more. Because you got to desire him. Guess what he's going to tell you? He's going to tell you some more. To keep the commandments of the Spirit of God and his statutes, which I command thee this day for thy good. So for your good, he's telling you what you need to be doing. Telling you what you need to be doing. Are you following this? Are you following this? But he got more here. He got more here. Watch as he go down. He gonna go down. Remember, the heaven and the heaven of heavens is the Spirit of God's thy God. The earth also with all that there is. He's clear as a whistle. So only the Spirit of God have a delight in thy fathers to promise them in he choose their seed after them, even you above all people, comparing it is this day. I don't know what part we missing there. What part are we missing? Actually, let's go down to 16. I'm talking about he's so clear here, I don't know what we don't get. But he getting ready to tell you about Esau again, about Edom. He says, circumcised for that reason the foreskin of your heart. The first thing we want to do is go circumcise what? The foreskin of our flesh. And now I'm God now. I'm circumcised. No, the foreskin of your heart. You got Jewish people do the foreskin and then they eat it. Be no more stiff-necked. Don't be like Edom, who is stiff-necked, because that's what that means. Rudy and arrogant. Haughty. Edom. Don't be like that. That's what he's breaking down to you. This is why he's telling you this stuff. And he tells you this. For the spirit of your God is God of gods and Lord of lords, the great God, a mighty and terrible, and regardeth not persons, nor takes a reward. You can't sit there and sell him nothing. Are you seeing this? Edom, this is what we're about. And we sit under fools and think nothing about it. Because they're in a clique. We get to wear this clown suit. If you want a clown suit, go get a job in a circus. You want to wear the suit, go get in the movie industry and get paid for it. Don't stand on the corner looking like one. Go get paid for it. Let's look at something. Hebrews, and we're going to look at chapter 12. Let's go to chapter 12. We're going to go to verse 16. And it says, again, lest there be any fornicator or a profane person compared just like Esau. For one morsel of meat sold his birthright. For ye would have that afterwards would have inherited the blessings. All he had to do is do what he needed to do. He was full of sin and he wouldn't take it off. He wanted to just stay in lavish and sin. But you got people want to tell you, now look at when they get mad, we color they turn. When they get mad, what do they turn? Red. Don't call no Indian red. What do you call them? Oh, redneck. Really? Just because they call them a redneck? No, that's a cliche they like to use. So they talking about redneck, so that's what you gonna call them. Because they really interesting. It shows stupidity. Shows ignorance. And found no place for repentance, for remembrance, though he sought it carefully with tears. Please. A lot of them idiots going straight to hell with no chaser. See, because one thing, I'm telling you how we was born. And they're going to tell you how Esau was born. Telling you how he was born. Exactly how he was born. We're going to see this in Psalms chapter 51. See right there? Remember, I was shaping in the acts of sin. I was shaping in iniquity. And in sin did my mother conceive me. Oh, that's Esau. And a lot of us. He has changed his soul for the world. Even afterwards, he would inherit the blessing if he would have been obedient to the voice of God. But his lifestyle was rejected, doing everything according to the flesh and not of the spirit. And guess what? Even marrying a bunch of women that you got a lot of these campers do. A lot of these actually, let me show it to you. How you'll see they want to tell people they Edomite, but I'm gonna show you Edomites right before you. I'm gonna show you right before you. And actually, I'm glad I thought about that, because I'm gonna show you something that I want to show you. He just like them. Genesis chapter 26, picking it up at verse 34. Why? Because I want you to see Edom up close and got already highlighted. It says Esau was 40 years old. Isn't that a coincidence? Isn't that a coincidence? When he took a wife, Judith, the daughter of Beri, the Hittite. He ain't done yet. He also took Bashemath, later, the daughter of Elon, the Hittite. Are you with me? Let's look at how Isaac them feel about this, because they already know that this fool is acting up, which were a grief in the mind unto Isaac and Rebekah. Guess what? He ain't done yet. You got a lot of these fools running around with these women. A lot of them running around with these women. But he ain't done yet. He ain't done yet. Let's look at this a little bit closer. Look at it a little bit closer. We're going to go to Genesis chapter 28. We're going to pick this up at verse 8. Esau saying that the daughters of Canaan pleased not Isaac his father. Interesting, isn't it? Interesting, isn't it? Then Esau went unto Ishmael and took wives which he had. Mehaleth, right here, the daughter of Ishmael, Abraham's son, and Nebetha, right here, to be his wife. He got four. But he put more enmity between him and God than he could. Be careful what you ask for. Be careful what you ask for. So this is what the problem is. This is what the problem is. So same thing over here. Right back over here, going right back over to Ephesians, going by one thing over here at a time. And it says, and they might reconcile both unto God in one body by the cross, having slain the enmity thereby. So they're slain by one body by what? Suffering unto death of their flesh. They're doing one thing. And watch verse 17 gonna tell you. And came and preached peace to you which were afar off, and to them that were nigh. So he came to both. He came to preach to the ones who were way out there in the world, and some that was right there with him. To do what? To do what? It's going to show you. It's going to show you right here. But through him, we both have access to one spirit. To one spirit. Not three, one. They tell you, oh no, it's three. It's three gods. No, that's the same thing again. Foolishness. Foolishness. Is one God. One spirit. Many operations. By one spirit unto the Father. So if you go on doing that over there in Galatians chapter 5 verse 19, you fulfilling those laws of the flesh, don't you ever think you're going to be a citizen of God. See, Esau's lifestyle is of this world, and this world is the end of Jacob. Actually, I'm going to show it to you. I'm going to let you see some of this. To show you this to where we're going to see, and then we're going to see what's going on with with Jacob. Numbers chapter 20. And we're going to pick it up at verse 14. Chapter 20, verse 14. We're on chapter 20 in verse 14. And seeing this is where the party with Esau and them actually was starting anyway. On what happened. Because it says, and Moses sent messengers from messengers from. See this is the inner workings on how he was working. From. Moses sent messengers from Kadesh. See, that's why I say it's better to understand words than to sit there to listen to fools talking about, that's right. Idiots. Salapia. You think people talk like that back then? Superlapia. Are you serious? They even put it in the comments. Stupidity on top of stupidity. He sent messengers from Kadesh. Why is he saying that? Because Kadesh is set apart for a purpose. That's what that means. Consecrated and sanctified to God. That's what that's saying. But it gets better. It gets better. Pay attention to what's going on here in the law. He says, he sent messengers from Kadesh unto the king of Edom. You get it? I know some of y'all got it. He sent them to the king of Edom. The ruddy and stubborn ones. But his name was rightfully called Edom. He sent it to Edom. Thus saith thy brother Israel. Party getting ready to start. The party's starting. Thou knowest all the travail that hath befallen us. They gonna go to Edom and sit there, they brother, and tell them right up front, man, you know the hell that's been up on us. You know what we done went through. Dude, you know what we've been going through. But who he telling? Edom. The ruddy, the stubborn ones. You think they can care? Let's read on. Let's read on. This is brother. He said, how our fathers went down, see, because he's joining him too. Our fathers went down into Egypt, and we had dwelt in Egypt a long time. And the Egyptian vexed us. Man, they put in work on us, man. But you know this. Or how he said, you know this, man. In our fathers. Dude, you know this. He's explaining, he's breaking it down because they really want to do something. You're going to see what's going to happen. And they're going to tell him this. He said, and when we cried unto the Spirit of God, he heard our voice. He sent the messenger, who is Moses. That messenger came and had brought us forth out of Egypt. And remember, we are in Kadesh. We are in the consecrated area. We're sanctified unto God. You remember that? A city in the uttermost of thy border. See, he laying this out real good. I'm talking about he's just laying it on. He's just laying it on him. So he says this. He says this. He says, let us pass, I pray thee, through thy country. We will not pass through thy field or through thy vineyards. Ooh, you know this getting ready to get good. We ain't gonna go in none of your. We're not going in your field. We're not even going in your vineyard. Neither will we drink of the water of thy well. We don't even want your knowledge. But let's use. We're gonna use water. We're gonna use what? We don't even want none of your water. Okay, we don't want none of your water. We just want to roll through. Just let us cool. Just walk through and just look ahead and look nowhere on either side. We just gonna walk. And if we thirsty, just walk. Come on, just walk. But watch this. We will go by the king's highway. We will not turn to the right hand nor the left. Don't look nowhere on either side. Don't look to the left. They ain't looking to the right until we have passed thy borders. They done laid out this beautiful story for Edom. Whose name was called Edom. Edom responded to that. Edom has, I got something for you. I got something for you. So Edom said this. Edom said unto him, thou shalt not pass by me. Hell no, bro. Come over here. I got something for you. Come through here if you want to. I got something for you. Lest I come out against thee with the sword. You want to come by here? Boy, party gonna crank up. You gotta wait a minute. You born in here in this world, and you think you just gonna go by without me putting in a little bit of work? Dude, was I not rightfully named Edom? It's funny because I'm sitting there. He tried to sit there and thinking he gonna roll through Edom. We done went through all Edom and we know now what it means. And now we thinking we gonna go in there and ask Edom for some sympathy. We're gonna ask Edom for some mercy. We're gonna ask Edom for some compassion. Did that ring a bell? Did that ring a bell? Are we passing through this world? Just tell me, are we passing through this world? And as I just continue to talk, just put a yes in there. If you just passing through, just put a yes, because I'm not gonna pay attention. But I got my boys. We watching. I got some heavyweights watching. But if you just put yes, just put yes. If you ain't passing through, you here to stay with the world. That's cool too. Just say I'm here to stay with the world. That's cool. Don't delete it. Leave it there. We just here to stay with the world. But the ones just passing through, just say, I'm just passing through. See, because we just want to pass by and we don't want to look on either side. We don't even want the water. We don't even want the water. See, this is the party. So we're going to sit there and we're going to see how this is playing out. Because we done went to Edom. Our stubborn brother who's in sin, who even said God offering is unrighteous, we done went to him and we gonna sit there like he gonna give us some compassion. Oh, we're gonna tell you what, man, you know what we went through, crying all on his shoulder. He's man, shit, suffered up. Go back and tell them, come through here, I got something for him. Tell them to come through here, I got something for him. We gotta look at Jacob. Cause we know what the issue is. Edom said, you come through my world, I got something for you. Edom telling you that. He's telling you straight up that. You come through here, I got something for you. So let's look at this. We gotta look at Jacob. So we got to see something. We're going to see something here. We're going to go to Psalms. Pick it up at verse 23. We're going to pick it up at verse 23. And we're going to stop, but we're going to park right there on verse 1. Why? Because we're going to look at something. It says, the Spirit of God is my shepherd. See, people then let other people in this world be their shepherds. Everywhere. People got shepherds in this world, and not let the Lord be theirs. They let the world here be their shepherd. But watch this. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside still waters. Uh-oh. But if you can see hope, that ain't hope. Hey, y'all come over here, stay on this land over here, and y'all going to live a set apart life and all that. Really, that's stupidity. You can see it. Come on up here. Y'all get rid of your credit cards. Come on up here and y'all going to live up here and we're going to start doing all this stuff up here. Really, that's stupidity. He making me lie down beside still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Oh, I forgot. You got to put that coat on of righteousness. So you can't look like you when you coming through here. So when you come through, he ain't gonna know you. It's gonna get serious. I'm telling you, it's getting serious now. Because now we on Jacob. See, a lot of us like to claim Jacob, but he told you, you come through my way, and we got to go his way. Because that's the only way we can get through there. We got to go through that way. He said he got something for us. See, but the main thing is this here. Keep this in mind. Keep this in mind. 1 Peter chapter 5. Chapter 5. We're going to look at verse 3. So it's telling you right here. Well, let's look at verse 2 real quick. We'll hit verse 3 because verse 3 is the one I want to concentrate. It says, feed the flock of God which is among you, taking oversight thereof, not by constraint, but willingly, not for filthy lucre, but of a ready mind. So this is all we're supposed to do. This is all we're supposed to do. That's it. And it's saying neither as being lords over God's heritage. But guess what? But being examples to the flock. But you got, hey, captain this and sergeant that and Billy Graham this. Really? We just want to pass through. You ain't looking for a leader. You're looking for some guidance just to get to the other side. You follow me? Let's look at this. Verse 4. Let's look at this verse 4. It says, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Now this is clear. Because guess what? We got to tell you a story. Tell you a story. I don't like to tell this story, but I'm going to tell it to you because it's already there. So I'm going to tell the story. And if I see any of these little kids laughing at me tomorrow, on Monday, I'm going to get on them. I'm going to get on the parents. But what happened, me and my brother, and there's always me and my brother and a friend of ours, we went to a party. Some girl done talked our friend into going to this party. So we stay over on Fifth Avenue in Santa Barbara, which is now King Boulevard. But we stayed over there. And we went over there on the 37th Street. And right off of Vermont. We over there. So this girl at Crenshaw talked our friend Kevin into telling him to come to this party. So we said, okay. So Kevin gets us to go to the party. So me, Kevin, and my brother D, we go to the party. So we get in there and we walk inside the party. As soon as we walk in the party, I'm talking about without a chaser. As soon as we walk in the party, I'm not 5 seconds, not 20 seconds, not 2 minutes. Don't y'all laugh. Not 2 minutes later, soon as we walk in the party, this guy I actually got to know later. His name was Baby Black. And he said it this way, so y'all got to excuse it. He said, the nigga in the middle, I'm a doing. Said it just like that. No ifs, ands, or buts. So quick as we walked in, they came out his mouth. And he said it, and the entire party heard it. So I looked. I looked. I wasn't in the middle. I was on one of the ends. My brother, and all of us looking. My brother, he looked. And he looked at me, and he was on the other end. Kevin looked. Kevin was in the middle. So we went from the living room area where everybody's dancing to the kitchen. So we just stood there for about a good minute or two. And then we walked to the kitchen. So back then, there wasn't no cell phone, so don't y'all get on us about that. So the main thing is, we go in the kitchen, and he tell the girl, we need to use the phone. Cause we got to get up out of there. Cause we over there where a bunch of Fruit Town Brims are. That's what was over there, Fruit Town Brims. And I ended up getting to know them very well. But the main thing is, and I'm talking about not very well, but became good friends with them. Many of them became good friends with them. And the main thing is, we just trying to get out of there. So at the time, we didn't know none of them. So the only one we can call, now, Kevin, his daddy wasn't going to come. That's just his daddy. So we call my dad Will. So we call Will. And Will don't fear too many. I ain't never seen Will really scared of anything. That's just me personally. If he did, he fooled me through life. Because I'm going to tell you, I done seen him walk in the backyard where dogs is acting a fool, and they trying to sit there and eat you and your future children that's in you. And I done seen him open up that gate and walk right back there, and that dog did nothing. And he didn't know the dog. I know because he was going on jobs that he was doing, and that's what those people are dogs. Seen him do it too many times. But we call Will. Will comes up, and we go from kitchen to car. Now, baby Black then walked out there, but the only thing is that that God had to be with them. Because I'm gonna tell you, when I got in the car. And I seen that I was in the front seat, and I can sit there and look. And I looked over there. Will had a gun sitting in his lap. That's just the way he rolls. So he got in the car. Y'all come on, he cussing us out and everything else. We get in the car, and he takes us home. And we get home, and everything was cool. But the thing is, we is just passing through. But we passed through over there, and we caught hell immediately. The same thing here. So same as Jacob. He's saying, though that he walked through the valley of the shadow of death, he fear no evil. But thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. So we got to remember, as we going through here, it's being controlled by red, the image of sin. Keep that in mind. Who is the image of sin? Esau, who was covered in it. He was hairy. He's covered in sin. Living the life of what? Edom. Rudy, ornery, stubborn, haughty, you name it, he was doing it. So that's why you even see this. I want to show you something before we even move further. Just to show you something. To show you why it's like that. To show you why it's like that. To show you why it's in the names. It's in names to which you need to know. And this is what they don't know, because they're going to go to dumb books and try to show you something else. So I want to show you something. This is why it says this in Isaiah 63. It says, who in the world that coming from Edom? Who in the world is this? Who is this that coming from Edom? You see what it's saying? Who in the world is this? With dyed garments of Bozrah, that is glorified, that is glorious in thy apparel, traveling in his greatness and his strength. Who is this dude coming from Edom? Because he hooking people up and taking names. This is what he was doing. Who? Christ. Because he's telling you, if you read Isaiah 63, you will see him breaking people off there. He even saves himself. He said he looked around and wasn't no one to help him. So he saved himself and killed more people. He tell you right there in verse 3. He said, and I looked, and there was none to help. And I wondered that there was none to uphold. So watch this. I'm just saying, for that reason, my own arm brought salvation unto me. I'm going to tell you, that's a piece of work. That's a piece of work. He looked around. Oh, ain't nobody going to help me? Well, let me go and start taking some people out. And that's what he started doing. Go read that. But you see where he's coming from. He's coming from the people that is stubborn. This is why it says this. I'm going to show you something why it says this. Let's look at Isaiah. We're going to go back. We're going to deal with Isaiah just to show you. I want to show you why it's holding you this way. In Isaiah chapter 1, we're going to sway. In Isaiah chapter 1, we're going to pick it up at verse 18 to show you, to get to understanding why it says that. Okay, it says, come now, let us reason together, saith the Spirit of God. Though your sins be like scarlet, they're red. That's why he said, you rightfully called Edom. They will be white as snow. That's what he's saying. He going to flip it over. That's why he's saying that. He says, they be as white as snow, though they be red like crimson. You see how he's going? Just a sin. Stubborn. They shall be as wool. You see how he's running this? This is why he's telling you this way. So when we go into this valley of the shadow of death, we have to understand what is going on as we going through this life here. The same thing like I ask people, if you just passing through. So if you passing through, you got to be like Jacob, not like Esau. Esau this is his home. Edom. This is his home. But let's see what we got to do here. So there's ways out of this, and I'm getting ready to show it to you. Because this is what we got. We got to do like our father Jacob. In Genesis chapter 28, we'll see it. Genesis 28 verse 20. We're going to see this. And we'll see here. It says this. It says, and Jacob vowed a vow. We have to do this. We have to do this. Jacob vowed a vow, saying, if God be with me and keep me in this way that I go, I will give me bread to eat. You see, getting in knowledge, and raiment to put on. I got to change my clothes. You see how he's breaking this down? Actually, let me tell you what. Let me show you something before we get there. I want to show you something. I'm just thinking. That's why I like it to do it this way, because when I think of something, I can run to it. We're going to go to Hebrews chapter 10, verse. We're going to look at verse 9. And it says this. It says, then said he, lo, I come to do thy will, O God. He taketh away the first, that he may establish the second. We're going to get rid of this fleshly, and I got to go on to this. So he's going to be, and Jacob actual name means what? Surplanter. He's a surplanter. Are you following me? He's a surplanter. So let's look at it this way, because I see some people might have a hard time trying to understand why you got to look at it that way. If Jacob is a surplanter, he is not going to live according to the flesh. He's going to live according to the spirit. So people here going to see you spiritually is nothing about you they're going to care about. They can care less about it because you're just filthy, ignorant looking to them. Actually, let me show you what I'm talking about. Let me show you to where we can get a little bit better understanding. I don't know what's going on today. Let me see. Let's go to Isaiah. We're going to go to 53. I want to go there because I want to just show you a contrast of something to where we can see something. We're going to pick it up at verse 3. And it says, he was despised and rejected of men, and a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief. That's deep. He's acquainted with grief. And we hid as it were our faces from him. He was despised. He was evil spoken of. And we esteemed him not. Same thing like that's what Esau did. That's why he was rightfully called Edom. He was rightfully called Edom. This is why. See, you can even see in verse 2. Let's look at verse 2. It says, for he shall grow up before him as a tender plant in the roots out of dry ground, have no form nor comeliness, that we shall see him. There is no beauty that we should desire him. That's why we have the problem here. Nobody desire what you're doing to Christ. You done put on the wrong clothes for here. So that's why he said you got to walk through him through the valley of the shadow of death. So he says that. So he says it. So when I come again into my Father's house, then shall the Spirit of God be my God. Once I make it to that end, then he'll be my God. But watch this. when I get to that end. So we need to see this in John chapter 15. We're going to pick it up at verse 18 to look at it a little bit more. And this was penned. So that's why he says this. These are why key things he's saying in this way. He says, if the world hates you, because now you done took on, you're not going through this world looking like you're going through this world looking like me. Are you following me? So that's what Christ's saying. So if the world hates you because you now looking like me, you talk like me, you know that it hated me before it hated you. You just chose to put on my clothes. You chose to look like me. You being covered in Christ, so they no longer see you as you. They no longer see Michael as Michael. They no longer see Joe as Joe. They no longer see Jenny as Jenny. That's what he's saying. That's what he's saying. So once you put on his clothes, his raiment, you're going to look like him. You don't no longer covered and you look like Edom. This is what he's saying. But he goes on more. He goes on more. So this is why Esau had that problem. So watch this. Watch this. I'm going to show you something. We just unraveling the mystery. Genesis chapter 27. Chapter 27. In verse 36. In verse 36, it says this. And this is why it's so important to run precepts to where you get all this. Get all this meat right that's here. And it says this. It says, and this is Esau talking. He said, is not he rightfully named Jacob? Is not he rightfully named this? For he has supplanted me these 2 times. What is Esau mad about? He trying to get his cake and eat it too. He took away my birthright. He didn't take it away. You stole it. And this is what people do this. And remember, now he's taking away my blessing. You lying. And he said, hast thou not reserved a blessing for me? For what? For what? So he said, so when I come again to my father's house, it be peace, and the Spirit of God should be my God. But I got to travel through this hellhole to get to this other side. I got to travel. I got to travel through Edom. This is Edom's world. Actually, let's look at this. Let's get our groundwork. Let's go to 49. Because Jacob broke this down for us, but we just didn't get it. So he says this in chapter 2. He says, gather yourselves together in here. Come on, y'all, come on up close. Come up close. I want y'all to get this. Come up close. Ye sons of Jacob, y'all come on up close. He says, gather yourselves together in here. You sons of Jacob, y'all children of the flesh, y'all people of the flesh, you 12 tribes of the flesh, and hearken unto Israel your father, and hearken unto him. That's who you got to hearken to. So he have to go into this wilderness to do this thing. He got to go there. He got to go there to do the thing. He has to go there to do the thing. And he going to explain this to you. And so we on this Jacob side, so we just seeing what's going on. So we got to see what's going on with this Jacob side. So let's go back to 12 and we got to find out what we got to do. What we have to do to get to the other side. So it says, and she brought forth a man-child who was to rule all nations with a rod and iron. And the child was caught up unto God into his throne. So this is what we got to do. This is what we got to do. Let's look at something. I want to make sure we all together on this. We're going to go to Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. We're going to look at this and tear this down. It says this. So this is what a party is. Where I keep telling you this, the party is happening. It says, and God said, What'd he say? What'd he say? He said this, let us make man in our image, after our likeness. You get ready to put on some clothes. Are you getting ready to put on them clothes? You going to put on these clothes? He said, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creep upon the earth. Uh-oh. He ain't playing here. But he goes on more. He say, so God did what? God created man in his own image. In the image God created he him, and male and female created he them. Bingo. But he says some things. See, he gonna drop some knowledge on you. He's gonna drop some knowledge on you. Watch. Here you go. You want to hear it? Here you go. He says, and he blessed them. What? He going to give them some knowledge. How do we know he's saying that? Because it said, and God said unto them, he blessed them. I'm going to give you some knowledge and said to them, be fruitful, multiply, and replenish the earth and subdue it. Really? Have dominance over that flesh. Have dominance over flesh. Subdue it and have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the fowls of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. Have dominance over flesh. So he then gave us the information. We gonna get the spirit, and what happened? Tells you right here. And the woman fled into the wilderness. We had to go. We got to go. We got to roll in the wilderness. We got to cross in there. We just can't get. We have to go through there. How you can't fly there. Can't take a boat. Can't take a car. Can't take your bike. You got to roll through there. So it fled into the wilderness, prepared to God, and they fed her there 1,203 days. So your spirit got to be fed. Only place is in the wilderness it can be fed. Nowhere else. And seeing that spirit, so you got a lot of dudes sitting there got them extramaritals. See, they got them many wives. They're saying that one spirit. You need that one spirit. So this is why it says this. One spirit. One spirit at all. One spirit at that's it. So we're going to go to 1 Corinthians. We're going to pick it up at chapter 12 and get some understanding there. Verse 4. It says, now those are diversity of gifts. Because remember, he said this is a gift from God for no reason for us to boast about it. Because it's a gift from God. And he says this, now there's diversity of the gifts. So it's a diversity. It's different things that works within this. But the same spirit. It's one spirit. You see it, not spirits. Spirit. So the same guys that got women, they got a problem. But watch how he says this. And there are differences of administration, but the same Lord. Not lords, Lord. And there are diversities in operations, but the same God, which worketh all in all. Got it? So we getting this. So now we getting this a lot. So as we get this, and we starting to understand, it says, but the manifestation of the Spirit is given to every man to profit withal. So for one is given by the Spirit of word of wisdom. So now we got to pick up and start doing it this way. So now we got the word of wisdom rolling with us. And then it says another, the word of knowledge. So that's the most stuff we got to carry with us. We got to carry the word of knowledge. We got the word of wisdom. Some going to get that one. Some going to get one thing. Some going to get both. To another, faith. Now we got to carry faith. Same spirit, but some of us got these extra things we got to take with us. To another, the gift of healing by the same spirit. So some of us going to get a lot of those, and some are going to get one, some going to get two of those. You follow me? But he's still rolling. To another, working of miracles, to another prophecy, to another discerning the spirit, to another diverse kinds of tongues, to another the interpretation of tongues. That's a lot of stuff to carry. There's a lot of stuff to carry. We got to carry all these things, but it's saying, but all these workers that one of the self same spirit divided into every man severally as he will. So some of them got to carry a lot of stuff. Some of them got to carry a lot of stuff. I'm gonna tell you right now, I got a whole. I'll leave that to myself. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna leave that to myself. But I'm gonna show you something and why he made those statements and why Paul's saying what he's saying. Why Yahweh said what he says, because he says this, and he makes this clear. He says, "Take nothing for your journey, nor stave, nor strip, nor bread, neither money, neither 2 coats apiece." That's why he says it, because all that over there, that spirit, you got stuff to carry over there. You got this stuff. So why you gonna carry that? Why you gonna go on your journey and you gonna go with your own knowledge? This is what he's saying. He's not here. If he is your God, he got his own staff and all this gonna cover him. You follow me? Now this makes more sense. So we can't take nothing on this journey. Because we take something with the journey, how you gonna carry this stuff? How you gonna carry these operations? You can't carry it. How you gonna carry that? You can't. You got all this stuff in your hand. Yeah, I'm trying to carry that. I'm trying to keep up with this. I'm trying to keep it. You can't carry it. So the same thing is this. So this is why he said this. This is why he said certain things. We're going to look at Genesis chapter 12 and picking it up. Picking it up at verse 3. And this is why he said this. He said, "And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse them that curse thee." That's why he said that. So as Israel, Jacob must remember what he had to do. Can't take nothing on this journey. Can't take nothing. So we're gonna get some more information to find out how this all works out. We gotta see how this all works out. We're gonna see how this works out. We're gonna look at 2nd Esdras chapter 6. We're gonna pick it up at verse 7. And it says this. This is why all this is going on, because we got a lot of history now. It says, "Then answered and said, What shall be the parting asunder of the times?" So how are we going to, so the parting asunder of the time. "Or when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth?" So this is common. This is common. Because right now we trying to pass through Edom. We trying to pass through Edom. So he just asking the question. That's why I love Uncle Drace. Because anyone gonna ask, I know he gonna ask. But watch this. Christ broke him off and told him something. He said this. He said, "From Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau was born of him, Jacob's hand held the first heel of Esau." Christ ain't no joke. But watch this. So he's telling you, and this is why we had the problem in the place. He says, "For Esau is the end of the world." He's the end of this world. So you're going to live it to the end. Until you die, you're going to be in the world of Edom. Until you die. I want you to, if you ain't never been told that, you've been told. You've been told today. You're going to be in the world of Esau until the day you die. This is his world. Jacob is the beginning of that followeth. Right in front. So Esau is being covered in sin until the end of the world, and is covered in sin, and then we got us, we want to be covered with Christ, the beginning that followeth. So you want to be prepared before you go out into the world. Same thing. Like when you get ready to go into the cold, put on your coat, get everything, go out there and you prepare, you ready to go. Same thing. No different. No different. So let's look at this. Let's look at this as a whole. Second of Trees, we're going to pick it up at chapter 7. And we're going to drop down to verse 3. So the same thing is what we do here. I just want to highlight this one part. And it said, we want to know more about it. That's what Uncle Idris do. He want clarity. He want more clarity on this. So he tell him, what did he tell him? He said, speak on, my God. Then he said unto me, and this is where the party starts for us. It says the sea is set in the wide place, that it might be deep and great. You see how you breaking this down? You see? This is the whole part what we need to now understand. It's set deep and great. So this world has many glories of it. You name it, it's in the sea. You name it, it's in the sea. But watch this. He says this. He says, but put the case of the interest were narrow, like the river. You see how he's breaking this down? So it's really narrow to get through where he wants you to go through. Actually, let's look at something. I want you to keep this in mind as we go through this. We're going to look at Luke. We're going to go to chapter 18. I want you to keep this in your mind. 18, we're going to pick it up at verse 25. Yahushua says this. He said, for it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than a rich man to enter into the kingdom of God. So he's telling you right up front, it's easier for a rich man to go through this world than a rich man trying to get to the world to come. Because he got wealth here. So there's no reason he don't do anything. That's why he tells him, sell all that you have and give it to the poor. That's why he said, get rid of your stuff. Don't carry nothing for your journey. Because if you're carrying something for your journey, you're going to miss it. That's why he says it in these ways. But in verse 5, he says this, which we clearly understand this. This is now everything going to come up with just clarity. It says, who then could go into the sea and look upon it and rule it? You can't. It's impossible. If he went not through the narrow, how could he come to the broad? For you to get to that other side, you got to go through Esau. You got to go through Edom. To this world where we're born. And we trying to get to the other side. We are trying to get to the other side. So as he's saying this, he's making sure we get this. And he's saying this here. Watch this. It says, there is also another thing. A city is built and set upon a broad field and is full of all good things. But we can't get to them. We have to go through this pathway. We tried to go out the slick way. We want to tell Edom, hey man, you know what we've been through. Dude, you know. I know you know, dude. But let me tell you, and you're gonna repeat it. This is the thing. I'm done, but we do it. We do it. We sit there. We want to give a sob story. We give a sob story. And you know, we got one. You got one that's real famous. People say, and I even use it. We call it the white woman cry. She'll go to court, and first thing she do when she want the judge to go on her side, the first thing she do is start dropping tears. First thing she do, she'll start crying. Start crying automatically. Just getting just boo, and he's supposed to give her sympathy on that automatically alone. And he says the interest thereof is narrow and set in dangerous place to fall, like comparing if there were fire on the right hand and deep water on the left. That don't bring you back your memories? Let me help you. Let me go back to Numbers. Let me go back to Numbers. Remember this? I just want to make sure we remember. Let us pass, I pray thee, into thy country. I will not pass through that field or through thy vineyard. Neither will I drink of the water of the well. We will go by the king's way. We will not turn to the right nor to the left. Now do that bring back your memory? Now is that bringing back your memory? Now we see what's going on. See, as I said, when we sit there and we look here, when you look at Psalms, that's why I say, when people sitting there talking about they got a shepherd that's rolling on this earth, you got a problem. That's why it says, the Spirit of God is my shepherd, I shall not want. You don't want no one else. That's who you want. He maketh me lie down in green pasture. He leadeth me beside still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Boom. Narrow. I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. You putting on that covering. Why? Because we need him to guide us. I'm going to show you that before we move forward. We're going to look at this in 2nd Read. We're going to go over here. We're going to look at chapter 16. And he tells you that right there. Actually, let me highlight that. And I want to break this right here. Tells you that. Be ye not afraid, neither doubt. No, not why you're here. Because you're going to pass by. You're holding on to him. Why? For God is your guide. He's your guide. So if you're going to pass through here, and you want to get through here, you want to get through this world, and a lot of us taking hold of Edom, the life of sin. But if God is your guide, you can't be looking on. Just like I said, that pathway is only 18 inches wide. 18 inches. You need to think about that. It says this right here in verse 8. It says, in only one path, in one only path between the both, even between the fire and the water, too small that there could but one man go at once. Just like I said, you're going to travel this by yourself. By yourself. God has to be your guide. He said, I give you pastors according to my heart that will feed you with knowledge and understanding to get through here. But if you go off that path, you're going to go either in deep water. You're going to go either in deep water, or you're going to go into the fire. But if God is your guide, you're good. See, if God be with me and keep me in this way that I go, and give me bread to eat and give me raiment to put on, then when I return to my Father's house, God will be my God. He tells you this. So it's saying this as we look at verse 9. It says, if the city now were given unto man for an inheritance, if he never shall pass the danger set before it, how can he receive this inheritance? You already know it's on the other side. It's being told to you. Eternity is over there. But God has to be your guide. Can't no man tell you this. This is why I have to use precepts to show you what God is telling you. This is not coming from me. I just like I tell people all the time, just look at me as Flavor Flav. I'm just a hype man for God to show you what he wants you to see, to get back to him, and we have to cross to that other side. That's all I do. So if God was to give you eternal life, and just doing it, and then you know the evil. So same thing like they saying right now. You got people sitting there talking about evil things that they're going to do to people in the kingdom. Then what's the problem with just staying where we are? Not knowing the evils that's set before you, how would you be able to discern if you're not seeing the evils that you see in this world? How you can discern now from good and evil? These are the things that we got to look at. That's this right here. So Uncle Adri said this. He said, "Is it so, Lord?" Then he said to me, so he can't believe it's like this. And I said, "It is so, Lord." He can't believe it's gonna be like, but hey, if I gotta do it, I gotta do it. If I have to do it, I do it. Let's look at something. I want to show you something here. We're gonna look at something here. We're gonna go to John chapter 5. John 5:43. John 5:43. And he says this. It says this here. And this is why I said we have to take off this and go and clothe ourselves differently. That's why Yahushua said, "I come in my Father's name. If ye receive me not," because I don't even look like what you think I look like. I don't talk like what I used to talk like. I don't walk like I used to walk. I don't look anything like what I used to look like. Because I'm coming in his name. So now, I don't come in the name of Michael. But I'm not going to change my name to some stupid thing that people have you doing. That's the name that my mother and father gave me. But I'm not walking in the lifestyle of flesh of Michael. It's not my thing. You shouldn't walk in the name that you sitting there saying, "Well, I'm going to live this lifestyle of flesh." You should be living the lifestyle that you have vowed to give to God. And you sitting there saying, "I'm going to cover myself in God's name and I'm going to walk in the way of God." That makes more sense. But people here are not going to like it because they're Edom. So since they're Edom, they're going to do things to you. As they said, you come through here. I got something for you. We seen that. Edom said it. You come through here. I don't care what you said you're not going to drink and what you're not going to do. You're not going to do it. You come through this way. I got something for you. And we got to go that way. We have to go that way. So the only way we can do it, we have to put on this covering of God and let him just guide us. But he says this, if another should come in his name, his own name, you're receiving. This is why they change their names. This is the main purpose. They change their names and they come in those names and the people receive them at unreal numbers. At unreal numbers, they receive them. So it's saying, he said unto me, even so is Israel's portion. Our portion is on the other side, but we got to get to it. We got to go through this world right here, right now. And we know we got to go through Edom. Not some white man. We got to go through this world. Because you got a lot of people who say they Israel ain't Israel. Do you see how many blacks we kill? We have to get through this world. So he says this. He says this. And make sure this is done. He says, because for their sakes I made the world. And when Adam transgressed, he forgot my statutes. When Adam forgot my statutes, then was decreed that now is done. Because he forgot them, so he had to put this in place. For that reason alone. Why? Because Adam plays dummy. Wouldn't it have to do it, but since they did it, we have to go through it. But that's not the point. We can't sit there and say we're Adam or Adam or Adam. We got to get off that. We got to get off that trip. We have to sit there and say, well, he dropped the ball. We have to pick it up and carry it forward, and now get it to the finish line. That's what we have to do. Because he's saying this is what's set before us. So this is what happens. And he's making it clear. He's making this clear for us. He says, then were the entrances of this world, those 12 gates, the entrances to get to those 12 gates for this world was made narrow. That's why he says that. That's those 12 gates. Then were the entrances of this world made narrow. For us to get there, it's narrow. Full of sorrow and travail. Full of it. He's telling you right up front. You can go off on one of the sides if you want to, and you can stay. You can stay in this world. But this world is going to end. But if you want that prize, eternal life, he's telling you right up front what's before you. And Edom is here. And it's not planned. He says this, and they are few. He says they are but few and evil, full of peril, and very, see right there, very painful. Esau said, you come through here, I'm going to pull that sword out. You seen him say it. Edom is not playing with us. This current world is full of sorrow and travail, full of pain. It's Edom, as with Sodom and Gomorrah. So when people tell you in this world, their life is super duper good, you're part of the world. You're part of the world. You either in that deep water or they in the fire sauna preparing to go hotter. Because this road, to get to that other side, you got to go through Esau. Because he is going to, he is going to come against you. Who? Edom. He's coming against you. If you travel in this road, you are going to run into this automatically. So let's look at this. And he says this. He says, for the entrance of the elder world were wide and sure and brought immortal fruit. That's what we want to get. That's what we want to get. That's what all of us want and what we want to get. But he says this. If then that they lived and labored not to enter these straight and vain things, they can never receive those that are laid up for them. Because a lot of us going to stop and we're going to park right here. A lot of us stop and going to park right here. We're going to park it right here and say this is home. So for that reason, now therefore, why disquietest thyself? So he's telling you why making noise or confusion. He's telling you why disquietest thyself. Why are you going to make confusion over this? Because he's telling you right up front. He's telling you right up front what's going to go down. You got to go that road. You got to travel that road. I don't care what you do. You got to go through that road. You want to get to this side, you got to go that road. This is the direction. And he says, seeing that thou art but a corruptible man. So you're going to go to the road. You're going to have people enticing you as you're going through here. As you go through this road, you're going to have people enticing you like crazy. You following me? confusion. But we are nothing but mortal people. This is why it's so important. And, I tell people all the time, whoever you feel is the best person you can learn from to get to that other side, that's who you need to go to. If it ain't here, ain't no hard feelings here. You go ahead, you move forward. You go to where, if you think those camps is your best location, then you go there. And you shouldn't come here. You don't want diverse kinds of fruits. If you're going to go to hell hard. If you plan on going to heaven, plan on going to heaven hard. And whatever one that you think is evil, if you think we're evil and they're good, then so be it. You go there. But he's telling you exactly what you need to do. And he says this. He says, why hast thou not considered in thy mind the thing that is to come rather than which is present? Because you have these people telling you, you do these things that is present to get the things to come. And that's not the truth. But they're going to tell you that. And this is the problem we even have here. Because they try to come here and they tell us about things and saying, well, we just have a question. Well, I would just ask a question. No, that question, don't ever think we're stupid. We know majority of the question, when you bring up a camp question, it generated from a camp because that's their general camp stuff. It's normal. So don't ever think when you ask the question and you saying, I'm not of a camp, we can tell you that question, that only comes from camp. That's why we know these. I'm telling you, it's plain textbook. So it's saying these same things. But they're going to tell you to seek the things that is present. So it's telling you this. So we're going to see what the Jews talking about. We're going to see what he's talking about. Then I answered and said, O Lord, thou bearest rule, thou hast ordained in thy law the righteous should inherit these things, but the ungodly shall perish. Yeah. A lot of them going to perish. Because you're going to travel that road, but you're going to get off. You're going to get off. Some of them going to get off on those roads. You're going to turn off. Some going to say, well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to make this home. I'm going to make this place home. And we see this, and he says this, and as Uncle Idris is talking, he says this. He says, nevertheless, the righteous shall suffer straight things. We got to travel this road. We have to travel this road and hope for the white. Just trying to get to the other side. Just running our race, just trying to get to the other side. And the ones can help you get there, as he keeps saying. I give you pastors according to my heart that will feed you with knowledge and understanding. They're going to tell you, no, don't, it's not good to go that direction. Go around that way. And you can go down that way so far and you have a clear path. They're going to feed you that way. What's your name where I can thank you? Dude, don't worry about what my name is. Just go that way. Okay. All right. This is what's going on. So you're going to suffer things that you might have done wickedly, have suffered straight things, and yet shall ye not see the white. Many people not. Many people not. He said unto me. This is why I kept saying what I was saying earlier. There is no teacher above God, because that's all judge me. But people are going to tell you they're going to judge. We're going to judge it. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to be putting down No. There's no teacher above God. So if there's no teacher above God, God give you pastors according to his heart. He don't give you shepherds to where they're gonna give you a whole nother doctrine, then turn you back over to God later when you full of sin. No. He said, I'll give you some of my servants. They're gonna feed you. They're gonna tell you which way to go. They're gonna guide you. And when you get there, you can get to the other side. So there's no teacher above God, and none that have understanding above the highest. Nobody. He's telling you right up front. So I say this as we closing. In 1 Corinthians chapter 9, picking it up at verse 24. You know this. It says, know ye not that they which run in a race run all, but one receiveth the prize? Question mark. And I say this many times. People, and they teach the same thing. They'll sit there and they say only 144,000 is going to be in the kingdom. That's the biggest lie in the world, because they don't understand the precepts of the Bible and why he speaks to generations. 144,000 out of each generation, as the Bible clearly tells you, according to the precepts in the Bible, that I have a few teachings on it. 144,000 going to be poured out of every generation. That's why they won't be able to number them. From the time of Adam into the time that this world ends, out of every generation, 144,000 people will be poured out. Them the ones going in the kingdom. They the ones going. And they the ones who are going to be showing you what you need to do. So, as it says, so run that ye may obtain. You got to run that you may obtain. If you want to hang with those, that's why I say, you want to hang with them, roll over there. And you don't need to be here. That's why you just sit there. I don't sit there. I'm not going to sugarcoat or beg you to do anything. That's not me. Because why am I have to beg you to stay here? That's stupidity. I'm going to give you the truth. Don't like it? Bounce. It's that simple. It says, but we shall endure unto the end. The same shall be saved. So we know this. This is clear as day. So the same thing is this. It says, with Christ, it says, for there be many that perish in this life. Many of us going to perish in this life here and never come to the wide gate, ever. Because they despised, they spoke evil of the law of God. That's what they did. Despised. They spoke evil of it. Give me some of that same red pottage. What? Really? That is set before them. This is what we do. He goes on more. He's laying this down for us all the way through. He said, for God have given strict commandments, so such comparing came, what they should do to live. Knowing what we need to be doing to live, but we choose not to do it. Even as they came, and they should observe to avoid punishment. But we don't. We don't. So he goes on more. Just like I said, he just telling you what's going on. Nevertheless, they were not obedient unto him. We didn't listen to the voice of God. We want to go listen to just like I say, all you got to do, go to all these camps and look at when they come on. Look at the number of the people that's watching them. Look at the number. It's unreal. And they talking propaganda the entire time. Propaganda. People, oh, that's right. This propaganda. Being fatted for the kill. Being fatted for the kill. So nevertheless, they were not obedient, but spake against him and imagined vain things. But they did what? He's telling you exactly what we're doing. And deceived themselves by their wicked deeds. Their own wicked deeds. See, the stupidest thing is they'll say they can even have multiple women because they'll put it on David or someone else. They put it on flesh, something they can see, and they have that hope in, well, I'm going to do like David. Having hope in that's not hope. Not knowing the heart of David. So many of us going to bust hell wide open. and deservingly so. Deservingly so. I'm telling you right here. It says, but his law they despised. They spoke evil of it and denied his covenant. In his statutes have they not been faithful and have not performed his works. Very blunt. Very blunt here. So he goes on more. For that reason, Idris, for the empty or empty things. You doing something vain, don't ever think you're going to get something out of it. You over there hanging out with these people, doing this stuff and hanging with them, you doing this, dressing like a fool, standing on street corners. And what's so wrong about it? Profaning his dang Passover. I'm talking about fools. If anybody said, and just like I said, I'm very upfront. If you celebrate the Passover with any camp, you was a fool. You was a fool. You did it ignorantly and not knowing because they don't know nothing about a Passover. So I don't care what camp you with. If you did it with them, you was a fool. And just as I said, the channel goes up and down. But I'm very upfront. And for empty or empty things, and for full or full things. Because it has to come a time to where we have to stop playing these games. It says this in 26. It says, remember, the time should come that these tokens which I have told thee shall come to pass, and the bride shall appear. Really? Really? Actually, let me help you out. Let me help you out with. He's telling the trees that we're gonna see. Let's see this. Revelation chapter 21. It says, and I saw a new heaven and a new earth, and the first heaven was in the first heaven and the first earth was passed away. It's gone, just like that. You can see it. Anything you can see is temporal. And there was no more sea. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, compared as a bride adorned for her husband. He's telling you that right there. And the bride shall appear. The bride shall appear. She coming forth to be seen, that is now, is withdrawn from the earth. So it's not even here. But they'll tell you it's here. They'll tell you it's here. So, as it says, and whosoever is delivered from the foresaid evil shall see my wonders. So, if you make it to the other side, if you make it there, you're good. But many of us is not going to make it. I'm just being upfront. People going to tell you whatever they want to tell you. But what I see, I'm going to tell you, a lot of people ain't going to make it. A lot of us is not going to make it. So he tells you this, and this is clear. For Esau is the end of the world, this world, and Jacob is the beginning that followeth. So it's not nothing about no white man. So you can get off of that. But they're going to sit there and teach you, and you have people still going to go over there, and they're going to sit there, well, it might be, you can go back and look at all those precepts that I just ran. You'll see how it's perfectly ran. And you still had a confusion, and best thing to do, stay there. Don't come here. Stay there. Because I hate teaching ignorance. Because you can't teach people who's ignorance. So that's the follower, not the white man. But Edom is the lifestyle that he chose. That's why he was rightfully called Edom, which camps and churches live by perfectly. Perfectly, they live by this. So I hope that you guys got some understanding from this. I hope that you guys can continue to see what went on. And from here out, make sure that you can move forward on what you're doing. Because I know now is what's happening. Because many people are going to continue in the way in that they're going to do. Many people are going to feel that well, he did this and did that. And same as I said, I always open it up to where people can always come back and they can talk to me right up front. I will even give you the floor to where you can explain what you explain using precepts. And not going into these doctrinal books and everything. But I'm gonna split this up because I knew it was gonna run a little bit long. So I'm gonna split it up to where I'm gonna have a 1, 2, and 3 on this to where you can get them in pieces. But those things are done. The same thing with the people who we got the Proverbs class. We still gonna be running that. I'm gonna go back there, but I'm gonna take a couple of minutes, eat a little something. And then we're gonna go into that, as well as tomorrow we'll be going into the to our Romans class, as well as we're going to be going through a Passover. And ignorantly so, and it's still on me, ignorantly so, I read something wrong, and I actually deleted that class that Deacon my crazy butt deleted the class. So we're going to have to put that back in there. So we got to make sure all that's taken care of. So my apologies there, but we just want to make sure everything is good. But I do want to make sure later that I'm going to go back there now with the class and let them know, and we'll take care of that. But I do want to eat a little something because I haven't eaten anything. But hopefully